Everybody pray for Brother Mikey.
I need your prayers this morning. I hope for what time that I stand up here before you today that I hope that I would be able to get out of the way this morning a little bit, or maybe that I would let the Lord come in and use me just a little bit. It never ceases to amaze me that, Brother Chad, no matter how much that I can feel that I can let the Lord down and that I can neglect Him a little bit more than I should, that His love is so abundant, no matter what, that He is always constant in my life, Brother Elisha. I don't know what the case would be with me today, but I found that through everything in my life that no matter how busy it is or what things I'm trying to build up and everything that I'm trying to work, Brother Chad, that the only thing at the end of the day that matters is if everybody, have you ever felt the Lord in your life today? Have you ever experienced what it's like to have the Lord come in and reach right down inside of you, Brother Clyde? Because I know that I have, because I felt it all over me, that, Brother Chad, that there's so much love in this man named Jesus, so much in the Lord, Brother Elisha, that this world is so full of noise anymore, and brother, and it clouds every moment that I let it, Brother Chad. It tries to consume everything about me, but for what minute at a time that I would let the Lord move in. Sister Tammy, that sometimes that I would get down on my knees and I would pray, and I wouldn't even want to get up. I would just want to cry and say, Lord, why do I do anything else in this life? I should just stay. I should just live right down on my knees with what you've given me right here. Let this world. I got news, sis, that we're trying to build everything we can, but I'm telling you, have you ever? Jesus one time spoke like this and concerning John the Baptist, and he said, what have you come up to see? One, shaking a reed in the wind. One, what have you come up to see? One dressed in a little fine cloth. He said, in fine raiment, you could go anywhere, but what is it that you've come up to see? Have you come up to see a prophet? I got news. What is it that you've come up to see? Have you heard? Have you felt a little bit from this man named Jesus? Because I'm telling you, if you're questioning yourself, then I got news. You better keep seeking today, Brother Clyde, because I'm telling you, He is as close to me as I'll let Him be today, Brother Chad, and He is far away from me, His brother, and as I keep Him away, because He's a constant. He's a constant in my life, Brother Clyde. He's a constant. Always right there trying to be a part of me. Guess what? Salvation. It's a very personal relationship between me and God today. And brother, and I love my wife and I love my children, and they know me probably better than anyone on this earth. My brother, and there's one that knows me even better than them. One that knows every thought that would run through my mind, Brother Clyde, that knows every desire that creepeth through anything in my thoughts, brother, and that is God today. And I'm telling you, He's seeking you out today. He's looking. Guess what? The Bible says that broad is the way that leadeth to destruction. Brother, and broad is that gate, brother, but straight is the way and narrow is the gate that leadeth unto life today, and few there be that find it. I got news, it's not few because God's only chosen a couple, but it's few because this world doesn't want them. It wants everything else to be in His way, brother, but it doesn't want God. God didn't set it up that way.
No. Bless you, Lord.
thank God that He put a love, brother, and that He put a little piece of His love down in my heart a long time ago when I turned to Him. And I hope that I would be able to get out of the way. And it says like this. I began to read a little bit this morning, and it said that one time long ago that Israel found itself in bondage one more time, Brother Chad. And it said that they were held captive for 7 years, and they began to cry to the Lord and ask Him why all these things were befalling on them. And it said that He began to speak to them, and He said that I delivered you out of all your enemies, delivered you out of Egypt, delivered you from all your enemies, and He said, I give you land that wasn't even yours for you to dwell in, and all I said was for you to look to me and call on me. But it said, but this you could not even do. But it said that one time He began to send a little angel, and that angel sat among a tree right there, and brother, and found one man named Gideon. I began to come to him right there, Brother Chad, and that angel began to speak to him and tell him that he was going to use Gideon to deliver his people out of their hands. And Gideon, looking naturally so, said, I'm not even the strongest in my house. Why would you call someone like me? Brother Clyde, I feel like that a whole lot sometimes. But God, thank goodness that God is able to do what we're not able to do, Brother Chad. That angel began to speak to him, and he began to tell him all the things. There was a little altar right there on the Baal, and he told them to go and cast it down. And Gideon, he said that he got men by night, he said, because he was fearful of everyone around. And he took and he laid down that altar right there, and it said that all the people in the morning began to cry against him and seek out the man. But Gideon's father began to speak up, and he said, if Baal is God, let him defend himself, brother. And Gideon began to call the great army, just like God commanded. And it said that he found himself with 32,000 men. And brother, and it said he began to talk to the Lord, and he said, God, if you are truly going to use me, Lord, I'm going to go into my tent tonight. He said, and I'm going to lay out a little fleece of wool. He said, and let all the ground be dry. But let that fleece be wet with the dew, brother. And then, and he woke up the next morning, and it was just as he had asked for. Said he could wring a whole bowl full of water from that a little fleece. And it said, but Brother Chad, I find it so funny how he was just like all of us. But he said, Lord, don't be mad at me. Lord, don't be angry, but I need one more sign from you. And God, I'm going to lay that same fleece out this night, but let all the ground be wet and let that fleece be dry this time. Brother Elisha, how often are we that way? Lord, Lord, help me, show me a sign. God, just show me what you want me to do, and then He'll answer us, Brother Chad. But yet we fight with everything in us. Everything, we want that sign so bad, but yet, Lord, I'm just not sure. And guess what? I believe we're just prone to fighting against them a little bit. That inward man is that outward man is always there fighting, always kicking against everything. But Lord, show me one more sign. And God, He answered them just like He did. And that fleece was as dry as could be, and that ground was wet as could be. Brother, and Gideon began to look at his army. Said that their enemies, that they were like the grasshoppers of the field. They couldn't even be counted. But Gideon, he looked at these 32,000 and thought, well, I've got me an army, don't I? But God, He began to speak to him, and He said, Gideon, your army, if I take and I deliver you out, they're going to look at themselves. And they're going to say, look what we've done. Look how we delivered ourselves out of here. He said, I need to cut your army down. He said, here's what I want you to do. I want you to whisper in their ears. Anyone that is fearful, let him go home. And it said Gideon did that very thing. And he began to tell his army, if you fear, just go on home. And it said that 32,000. It right there was cut down to 10,000 right there. And you know how many times that the Lord has spoken unto me? I felt it right down in my very bones, Brother Darrell. And I would fight with everything. You know, one time we got a little family reunion going on just over in the next holler. But several years ago, I was probably just preaching a couple years, Brother Chad, and we had us a little reunion over at my mama's house, Popo's mom, up in Michigan. And come Sunday morning, we were going to have us a little church service, and Brother Clyde, I got news. I wasn't very prepared to preach, and I had an awful headache and everything. Everything, Brother Elisha, let get to me, and I thought, I went up to Brother Chris, and I begged my way out of that meeting. I said, no, I don't want to get up there. I can't preach today, and I begged my way out, and my mama was sitting there, and I did it. I begged my way right out of that church service. And I went home that night, and I thought all night long, I don't know if you'll ever hear me preach in this world. And here you just begged your way right out of that meeting. I didn't need it for her salvation. But Brother Chad, I thought I wasted it right there. There were other in that meeting, brethren, that needed to hear the Word of God. And I let fear rob me of that very thing right there. And you know, my mama, the closest thing I ever got to preaching in front of her was on her little deathbed, brother. About a day or two before she passed, I got to go into kneel down at a little bed next to her and hold a little prayer, Brother Darrell. That was the closest thing I ever got to it, and that thing, it never left me right there to say, you need to stand up a little stronger. You need to not let fear take and break everything. The devil, he may have lost the war with me, but he's trying to steal a little battle here and here. He's trying to rob me from doing God's will today. He's trying to rob me from preaching the Word of God and for standing up for the Lord when the world, brethren, it's going to try to take everything from you. It's going to try to tell you that we're foolish for going out to an old stinky creek, that you don't know what's in that water and you're going to lay down in there. Guess what? They thought I was foolish, Brother Chad, on the 2nd of January, where my uncle got out a chainsaw and began to cut the ice. I had to cut a hole and said, you're going to go and lay down in that water. What's wrong with you? Guess what? It may have been freezing outside, Brother Chad, but guess what? I had me a volcano burning inside my heart, brother. That right behind me, I heard a little clanking going on from a high school varsity jacket going on with medals clanking all over. And I seen Brother Brandon come and say, I'm going in the water right behind you. And they said, going in the house, it's too cold. I said, you ain't dragging me away from here. Guess what? This world's going to call you crazy. They're going to try to take everything they can from you. But guess what, Brother Elisha? It's not nature. It's not a reward. It's not something natural that this world could explain to make a grown man go out in the cold water, Brother Chad. This thing, it's not about nature today. I'm telling you, there's real to this thing. So much so that a young man would change everything, Brother Chad, that I tried to what this world had to offer. This thing was so real. Jesus is so real to me that everything in my life I was willing to trade. Brother, and I found me that great pearl one day. And I was going to sell everything until I obtained it. I'm telling you today, Jesus is the best thing that ever happened to this young man right here. And I want this world to understand that. I'm up here pleading, trying to make you understand just how great that this man is and how great he'll be for you today. If you would just let him in, Brother Clyde, that Gideon, he went to those men and he told them. He told them that they left with 10,000. He looked at them one more time and he said, there's still too many of you. There's still too many. I can't have the people think that they did this thing on their own. He said, there's a little water over there. I'll take them there and I'm going to try them, Brother Chad. He said, every nail men that take and get down and put their head down and begin to drink. He said, I want you to put them on one side. He said, in the other, that take and begin to scoop it up and lap it up like a dog. Brother Darrell, I've read it a lot to try to figure it out, and the best case scenario I can see is there were 300 that kept their head up and always was looking, and the other dropped their head. And guess what? Those 300 that never took their eyes off waiting for the enemy, brother. Those 300 God put to one side. He said, with these 300, He said, I'm going to save Israel. I'm going to take them out, brother. Here Gideon, 32,000 men feeling okay about the situation. And then the Lord drops them to 10,000 and him thinking, I don't know, Lord.
Yeah.
Now he finds himself with 300 and thinking, Lord, I don't know what you're doing here. Guess what? We think that way a lot. We think, Lord, Lord, I don't know what you're thinking by what's happening in my life. I don't know what you got planned because I can't see it. You know what? Sometimes we need to just let go of the reins and give them over to the Lord. Sometimes we got to let go of control a little bit, Brother Clyde, because our control may be steering us in the wrong path. Sometimes I just got to say, Lord, if it ain't good for my life, just take it from me. Because I may not see what you see, Lord. And if it ain't gonna help my children, if it ain't gonna make my life closer to you, Lord, just remove it from me. Brother Chad, sometimes I gotta pray like that because I know how foolish I am. I know what trouble I've got myself into. Brother Clyde, I didn't get greater wisdom with each child that came out of my wife. I didn't get that, Brother Clyde. I wish it worked that way. But the one thing I said is, Lord, I'm just going to lay him over to you. And God, because I know I'm not wise enough. You know, Gideon, he had them 300. And the Lord must have sensed this fear because he said, Gideon, if you are fearful that I'm not going to deliver you, he said tonight, if you're fearful, take you a little servant. He said, and go and crawl down in the enemy's camp and listen to what they have to say. And Gideon, he must have been fearful because he took that servant with him. And brother, and they crept on down and they heard the enemy begin to talk. And one began to say, I had me a little dream last night. He said a little cake of barley began to roll into our camp, and it began to hit a tent and begin to smite it right there, and the other began to speak up, and he said, that is none other than the sword of Gideon. Brother, and Gideon left and no doubt felt that he had what he needed, and he began to take his 300 and he began to divide them in 3 camps of 100. He began to take a little pitcher and put in one hand, a little empty pitcher, and he took and he put a light down inside of it, and he began to take a sword in the other and a trumpet, and he began to say, whatever you see me do, I want you to do. And they all began to surround the enemies, and they began to blow that trumpet and begin to shout. Brother, and with the one loud voice, that this is the sword in Gideon and of the Lord. And they took that vessel and they began to break it, and the light began to shine. And everyone began to do it, brother, and all the enemies, they begin to jump up and they begin to run around and begin to take their sword and fall one on another. Brother Clyde, what I always loved about that story, we had such a great fear. Lord, are you sure you're going to deliver me? Are you sure you can use me, Lord, to deliver Israel? I'm so small.
Yeah, so weak.
And then he had 32,000, Brother Chad, and he thought, okay, Lord, I think we can do it. And he began to take that numbers down until there were only 300 men, Brother Clyde, and he took those 300. And all the enemies that said couldn't even be numbered. It was like the grasshoppers of the field. You didn't even know there were so many. And he took those 300 and they never had to even use a sword, Brother Clyde. Never even had to fight. Sometimes we think that this obstacle is so big, this mountain is so tall, I'll never be able to do it. Brother, they thought they had a great battle before him, Brother Chad, and the Lord. He began to step in and he said, no, you don't even need a sword. Just take you a little trumpet, take you a little of a pitcher and a light. Brother, and I'm going to deliver all your enemies by that very thing. Brother Chad, sometimes I got to just let go of the reins and let the Lord move in. A long time ago, Brother Chad, we were just sitting over and he said, you remember that boy down in your heart? Brother Mike, well, a long time ago, brother, and I went into this world at 16, run away, brother, and I grabbed everything the world had to offer. I would obtain as much money as I could, and I would begin to buy every fancy thing I could find. And I'd puff my chest out, and I would walk around, and I would show everyone, look what I've got. Brother, and for that day, it felt awful good. But when night came, I had shown everyone that hole in my heart was still there. And the next day, I would grab something else, and I would try to fill it. I would try to grab everything this world had. And I could drown out the Lord a little bit, Brother Darrell, but guess what? That void was always still there. That void was always still in my heart. And guess what? I know if you don't have this man named Jesus, brother, have you ever seen a little door with one of them old keys, brother? And I got news. That hole, I filled it with everything this world had to offer. But it was still just not working right, brother. And there is a man named Jesus, brother, that completed my very world, brother, and that gave me that. Guess what? Troubles and trials are going to come. But guess what? When I lay my head down on my pillow, I have someone who's always there for me. Brother, that never goes to sleep, that knows every little thing about me that I turn to and I say, Lord, I don't have a big fancy prayer. I just come to talk tonight. Guess what? And I can feel him right there with me, Brother Clyde. He's right there for every need that I have. And he'll always be there for you. My whole message is that you need to get to know this man just a little bit. You can try everything in this world. And I'm telling you, it may bring joy for a second. But there is only one lasting joy that I found in this world. There is only one thing that no matter what I'm going through, Brother Darrell, no matter what's going on in my life, he's always there, Sister Kathy. He's always there. He never leaves me. He never goes anywhere. He's waiting on me to call on him again. And I'm telling you, he'll be there for you if you would just turn to him a little bit. I love each and every one.